easily do. Okay, so with that said, um, let's jump right into today's class, the main topic for today. So I'm going to be talking about the tools, right, that as a business analyst you should be familiar with. Okay, so just give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna pull this up here. Okay, now if you go to Indeed, right? I think one of the assignments was to go to Indeed and look at the resumes on Indeed. So one of the things a lot of people say is, "Oh wow, this business analyst resume is very intimidating." It's very intimidating. I don't really understand how I can explain all these tools. So one thing you have to understand is it's like it you just need to know one tool for a particular functional area, right? And once you know that tool, you can uh you can relate it to other tools that do the same thing, right? So that's how it works. It's like, so what I've just done is I've grouped the tools that are similar and I've written down what they do. So for instance, as a business analyst, you should know how to do Microsoft. You should know how to do like Microsoft Word. Right? What can you use Microsoft Word to do? So
Type
for instance,
to write
w-
letters and agendas.
excellent. Yeah. So requirement document. So again, so agenda is very key. Requirement document. So you try and relate it to what we're doing, right? So requirement document, table of contents. What else? Flow charting. You can use Word to do flow charts. You can use Word to do track changes. Do you guys know what track changes is?
No.
Okay, I'm going to show you quickly what track changes is. So this is a very critical thing that business analysts should know. So whenever you're working on it in a team with multiple people, right? Especially if you're working on Microsoft Word. Um, so for instance, let's look at this document. So that you can have multiple people, right, working on this document. So if you make a change, right, they normally want to know who made the change, right, and when the change was made, and so on and so forth. So what you can do is you can do track changes, right? So you can come and say, let's see, I think it's under references, no, layouts, design, draw. Oh, no, reviews. So that's what it is, review. So you see that button right there, that's track changes. That means track changes is on. So what that means is anytime anyone makes a change to this document, the Word doc, the tool, right, will record the change, will record the name of the person who made the change, and so on and so forth. So if I come here and I come here and I do something like this and I delete, right? So it said Daniel made so and so change. So that's what track changes is. It's all about tracking changes on a formal document to know who made the change and when the change was made. Another thing with track changes is that you can always delete that change, right? You can accept the change or reject the change. So with track changes, see here, there you have accept. You can accept the change or you can reject the change, and it goes back to what it was originally. So that's what track changes. It's one of the most used functionality by business analysts in creating formal documents. Okay. So
Can you find the track changes in a Word document? Where do you turn it on?
here, can you see my mouse?
Yes.
So I can turn it on or off.
Under table and design layout.
Oh no, under review.
Under
Under
review.
under review, right? You see where it says track changes. I can turn it on and off.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question about track changes?
Yeah. Yes. Now this function, right? For someone else to have access to it, must we put a document on SharePoint?
No, you don't need. So, once you put a document of SharePoint to have access to this, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So this doesn't need SharePoint. You can do it on your local machine.
Okay.
Yeah. If you do it on your local machine, it saves it. If you send it to someone else, then the person will see all the changes you made. But most times when people make changes, they upload it to SharePoint. SharePoint is like, where instead of sending via email, you put it on SharePoint so that other people can see it. So what an assignment for you guys, just open up your Word and find the track changes and try it out yourself. Just, make the changes and see if it's being tracked. If you don't see track changes on your Word, you can let me know. I can show you. There are different versions of Word. It depends on what year the Word document you have.
One in the Google that has the sheet. I don't know where to find track changes.
Oh, you mean the Google Docs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's try Google Docs. Let's see Google Docs. So this one here I have here is Google Docs. So Google Docs should automatically have track changes
Okay.
on. Yeah, you can't turn it off and on. Google Docs is different from Microsoft's,
Mm.
right? So the way Google Docs tracks its own changes is up here, right? So if you see here, if you see new changes, if I click here, it will show me the history of all the changes and who made the change, right? Right now I see that Odum has made a change,
Okay.
right?
Mm.
Made a change there. There are 4 changes, right? Odum, how come you're deleting everything? So
John,
that's
I
the
didn't
way.
delete anything. I don't know why it's showing my name. Oh.
It's showing that you're deleting the whole. Okay, so that's Wale made a change here. I made a change there, and so on and so forth. These are all the people that made the change and when they made the change.
Okay, so Google Docs is automatic.
Yes, Google Docs is automatic.
Okay.
So remember, the reason track change is very powerful is that if somebody goes in and deletes your work, right, you can always go and revert it back to what it was. Like if I want, I can come here to what I have done in January 21. If this is the original version, what I want, I can just come and click on restore. So it will restore this version back to what it was on January 21st. So that's what track changes is all about.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on to, so that's just one of the things you can do with Microsoft Word. Again, we're talking about Microsoft now, not Google, right? The reason that,
Dan, please, could you just track the change again on Word just to see, so that I'll see the step? I
okay,
tried it right now. I put the track changes on, but I couldn't. I didn't see how we could highlight or determine who made the change or not.
Okay, so what you can,
yeah.
so do you want to share your screen so we can look at yours? Because like I said, it's a different, yeah, it depends on what year you're using. I'm
Okay.
using 2019. So do you know how to share your screen?
Yeah, I should be able to do that. Just
Okay.
Wait. There's supposed to be a button on the top right to share the screen, right? I can't find it.
Oh, okay. So no, this one is on the left. So share screen is you gotta so left side
Okay, yeah,
green.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Can you see my screen?
Let's see. So way. No, you're not sharing.
Let me try again. Screen share. Okay.
Okay, yeah, now you're sharing.
Okay. Yeah, if you notice, the track changes is on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just making random changes to this document.
Okay, yeah, it's tracked.
Yeah, but when you did the sample, there's something you clicked that showed who made the try that's extended somewhere to the right of the screen, and you saw details of it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
right. So Max,
so
let's click on reviewing, right? Reviewing. No, on the right, no, right of after all markup.
Okay.
That one, yeah. Click there. There you go.
Okay. That's where you see the details.
Exactly, that's where you see the details.
Okay. All right, thank you. So you can. So how do you select and reject?
You can accept and reject, exactly.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, you can stop sharing now. Okay. Any other questions about track changes? So like I mentioned, the reason track changes is very common is because where you have multiple people making edits to documents, it's very important that people know who made the change, when the change was made, okay, and they have someone that they can ask a question about the change. All right, so let's move on to table of contents. So as a BA, you should also know how to make table of contents for a formal document, because most formal documents have table of contents. So I'm going to show you how to make table of content really quick. Let's see if I can do it fast. So let's say you are working on a formal document and let's see, where's, I guess formal documents are not that common. Like me, myself, I mean, I guess since I became a business analyst, I've worked mostly on a formal doc, like a template that somebody already created. I'm just like filling it in. But let's say by chance somehow you're required to do a formal document. It's not hard, right? It's something you can actually do easily. So what you just need to do is to why is this thing not allowing me to open? Let's see. I'm going to close this one now. Don't save. Sorry, hold on a bit. Let's letter of intent. Talk about interview. Okay. All right. So something like this. So the way the formal table of content works, right? And why do you even need a table of content? Table of contents are like links, automatic links to your page. So for instance, if I want to create table of content, the key there is to have something that the table of contents can recognize, right? So you need to use headers. So you see where my mouse is? These are headers that can be linked from a table of content. So that's my page one. So if I come here, let's say this one, I make this a header as well. And that could be, in the other page. So what I'll just do, if I come here and I say insert, okay, there are different things you can insert. You can insert cover page and so on and so forth. Now, what I'm trying to insert is table of contents. Let's see, where's table of content? No, cover page. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for table of content, page number. Okay, of course, you can add page number and so on and so forth. But what I need is maybe references. Okay, so under references, again, it depends on which version of Word you're using. There are certain versions where the table of content you get it from insert, and there are certain versions where you get it from Word. I mean, from references. So for this, in mine is references. So I'm going to click on table of contents. There are different styles. Okay, so that's style. So you can see what has happened. It has automatically linked to those texts that I've made headers. So I made the one in page 2 a header. I made the one in page 4 a header. Now, if I click here, it takes me directly to that page. So that's the way the table of content works. If you're working on a very big document, you don't want to be doing it one after the other. You know, saying, oh, this one is on that page, you type in the page. Because when people are reviewing your documents, it will be hard for them to navigate through that document. So you want to use the table of content feature on Microsoft Word. So for instance, if somebody goes now, moves this to another page, right? Now, this is a table of content is out of sync. What you can do is just, you know, I think you just, the way it is, you right click and refresh. You say update, right? Update page, I think is this one, right? So automatically it just updates the numbers. So the table of content is just an automated way of keeping all your information in sync, like tracked. So that's table of content. If you're creating a formal document, formal requirement document, is something you need to know so that you can have like a very neat document. So that's Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word has so many very nice features. Certain things, if you want to do something you can't figure it out, just go to Google. Google will explain it well for you. Flow charting. Everything I've showed you on Balsamiq and Draw.io, you can make simple flowchart documents on Microsoft Word.
Hey Dan, just a real quick. So about the Balsamiq mockup, I was using it sometime last week, and I kind of had problem trying to insert a picture on one of the documents that I was working on. I mean, I don't know, is there like a way you can like? I know I don't want to like have you go too extreme about it. If you want to wait and at the end of the class, you could just break it down. So like just show like how you can actually insert like a picture, because I was actually working on this document that I could have had like a photo on this document, and it would have looked more better, but I couldn't just figure out how to just insert the picture on it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We'll touch on that, then I can show you. Okay.
Cool.
All right. So what I was going with this was I was talking about the activity diagram, UML diagrams. You can do all of that in Microsoft Word. It's not the best way to do it, but there are certain people that do it with Word. So you just use the shapes. If you go to shapes, you can get the diamond shape from here. You can get pretty much all the shapes. You can get your process shape, your rectangle, and so on. Then you have connectors, right? So you can see there's a section for flowcharts. So these are all the flowchart symbols you can use: diamond, rectangle, and so on and so forth. Right. So that's how you can actually use Word to do that. I don't recommend Word, but it's just something you should know, that you can actually use Word. If it's faster for you, you can just do it on Word. So let's move on to Microsoft Excel. I'm gonna show you how to do some of this stuff on Excel, but these are things that you must know how to do before you go for an interview, or you know how to talk about them, discuss them. So I'll discuss them in the class when we talk about data analysis, how to filter data, how to sort data, how to wrap data, how to do pivot tables, and so on. So as a BA, you should know how to do these things in Excel. Microsoft SharePoint, I think Samson has talked about SharePoint a lot, but SharePoint is just like Google Drive, right? So it's just used for document collaboration. You're working on, with multiple people on a team. You need a place to store your documents. You don't want to keep it on your desktop or your hard drive, because if you put it there, nobody has access to it. So in order to do collaboration well, you want to use Microsoft SharePoint. Okay. So how does SharePoint look? Just like Google Drive, right? So for Google Drive, you see folders. You can store inside your folder. You can have files and so on and so forth, PDFs. So that's how SharePoint is. SharePoint is more sophisticated than Drive because it has other things that you can do on SharePoint. But the basic thing you need to know is that you can use it to store folders and files.
Excuse me, Dan. Do you have SharePoint there?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if you could just show us the interface, just for example.
Okay.
We want to see what the interface is like.
Yeah, I'll show you how the SharePoint interface looks.
Okay. Yeah.
SharePoint. Okay, so this is how the SharePoint interface looks. And again, not all of them look like this. Like I've worked for different companies that have used SharePoint, and not all of them have this. You can build your own interface the way you want it to look. All right, so let's look. This is actually a project I'm working on. These are just links that people put here, but these links are all to folders, right? So let me go to a folder that I'm working out of, right? So you see how it is. It just looks like Google Drive, right? You have your folders. Inside your folders, you can have files, Word, PowerPoint, and so on and so forth. Share something that you're working with, you click on share. So same thing with Google Drive. You can share stuff you're working with, right? You put the name of the person you want to share it with, right? So you can download things, you can upload files, and so on. Does that make it clear?
Yeah, thank you. It does. Just wanted to have an idea.
Okay. So of course, Microsoft Outlook, everybody uses Gmail, everybody uses Yahoo. As a business analyst, you must know how to use Microsoft Outlook to send emails, to schedule meetings. I think one of the assignments was to schedule a meeting using Gmail. So once you can do that on Gmail, you can do that on Outlook. It's same thing, same concept. The only extra thing I would say with Outlook is whenever you're scheduling a meeting, just don't like, let's say you want to schedule a meeting with someone, just don't you have to check the person's availability, right? And you can check the person's availability on the calendar. You can do this on Gmail as well. You can, if someone opens up their calendar, so you can actually like share, see whether the person is busy or not. For instance, let's say I want to say I want to check if someone is busy. Let's say I want to see if this guy is busy, right? So if I click on his calendar, I can see that he's not free on this time. So he's free from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. His calendar is blocked. Okay, no, till 9:30. His calendar is open. He's also free from 10 till 11. It says free. So if I want to book a meeting, like I had a meeting with this guy about 2:30 today. But essentially, whenever you have a meeting with someone and you invite the person, it blocks the person's calendar. So nobody else can invite that person for another meeting. I mean, you can invite the person for another meeting, but it's up to the person to decide, whether they want to go or not. But for courtesy's sake, before you invite someone for a meeting, you check the person's calendar. If it says free, you can put a meeting. If it doesn't say free, or if it's not like empty like this, you can't put a meeting in there and expect the person to show up. So that's one thing you need to know about calendars. When you want to invite someone, especially someone who is like senior or whatever it is, just check the person's availability and and before scheduling the meeting. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, excellent. So any question about scheduling meetings before I move on to the next item?
Oh, one question. Sorry. So how do you check the person's calendar? I wasn't paying attention. How do you open someone's calendar? You just go to their name and click on it.
Yeah, you just invite, just go to your name, click on it, and it will show up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, right? So for instance, yeah, see where it says people's calendars?
Mm.
If you click on plus, you can type in the person's name you like to invite, and it would it would tell you, right? It would tell
Okay.
you whether the person is available or not. So let's see. So I think here as well, new, and that's not what I'm looking for. So yeah, that's pretty much how to do it.
Mhm.
You can open up people's calendars, see when they're busy or not. Some
Mhm.
people actually make their calendar so open that you can actually see what meeting they are attending. Some other people, it's up to you to decide how much information you want to share. Do you want to share just whether you're busy or not, or do you want to share the details of the meeting you're attending? A lot of people don't do that, but some people do. So that's how to use the calendar.
Okay.
Hey Dan, real quick. So as a like, when you get to work for like a company, do they give you like a personal access to get on that Microsoft Outlook? Because right now with my job, I actually use that, and it's like Nelson underscore my job's information. So it's not like it's like my personal email, but the ending is not. It's only for my job. It's not like something I can actually give to you and say, hey, Dan, can you forward me a document, because it's like my personal job email. So why I ask that is like I just want to know. So if I go to another company, will I get something like that with the company? I mean, is it gonna be like the company's gonna assign that to me, like my other job did?
So most companies use Microsoft Outlook. Most companies do.
Okay.
Yeah. So especially if you're a business analyst, you're gonna have a Microsoft Outlook. I don't know of any company, tech company, that doesn't use Outlook. There, except there's like a startup company, like some companies are trying to avoid licensing costs, so they're skipping Microsoft totally, and they're using Google Suite. So Google Suite is cheaper than Microsoft. So unless that's the case, then you're going to be using Google Suite instead of Microsoft. But just prepare to use Microsoft Outlook. That's the most common emailing tool that most companies use. Okay, so as a BA, you should know how to use PowerPoint for making presentations. So I think most people know how to use PowerPoint. I'm not going to talk too much about PowerPoint. So let's move on to some other tools, Jira and Confluence. I'm going to show you how to use Jira. Maybe a little bit of Confluence, but I'll show you how to use Jira after we discuss Agile, because Jira is very popular with Agile development. So I'll show you how to use Jira. Other tools that are like Jira are Microsoft Team Foundation Server, TSF, There's HP ALM, there's Serena ALM, there's Rally, there's Microsoft Project. Yes, to an extent. But these are what these tools are used for: defect tracking, requirements management. I'm gonna delete this one out of here. Agile process, so project management, traceability, project reporting. Okay, so one thing you just need to know is you might go to a project and they're using only one of these tools. For example, I have a friend that they use Rally. Okay, and I'm not going to discuss Rally with you. I'm only going to show you Jira and Confluence. So the reason I bring this up is to understand that all these tools belong to the same family. They do the same thing, right? So if you know how to use one, pretty much you know how to use the other one, right? So I just showed you how to do workflow diagrams in Word, and I showed you how to do workflow diagrams in Draw.io. So it's the same concept. Once you know how to do it here, you know how to do it everywhere else. The most important thing is you know that Jira is used for defect tracking, is used for requirements management, is used for Agile project management, is used for traceability. So I group them together so that you don't, you know, if you see it on your resume and someone asks you, hey, you say, oh, this is a tool I'm very familiar with. I know other tools that are similar, do the same thing, but this is the one I know how to use. Now, virtual meetings, right now we're using Google Hangouts. In the industry, don't use Google Hangouts because people believe that Google is hackable, and if you have a meeting, it's no longer private. So the most popular tools are Skype, WebEx, GoToMeeting, and I've seen some people use a tool called Adobe Connect. So for the purposes of an interview, just know these tools, that these are the tools that companies use for virtual meetings. So wireframes, UML diagrams, data modeling, these are the popular tools that I use. Microsoft Visio, Balsamiq. If you notice, I didn't put Draw.io here because that's not a common tool that is used, right? You want to go for an interview and you speak about tools that are recognizable. Okay, so talk about Visio, talk about Balsamiq. Those are the tools that are recognizable. So talking about to query databases, we've not talked about SQL, but I'm going to teach you how to do SQL. But the popular database management systems are Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server. Once you know how to use Oracle, you know how to use Microsoft to query databases. It's the same language, just some minor differences, same language. So version control. Version control is not something that BAs do that much. But it's something you should be aware of. So I've showed you about version control in Google, right? So Google Docs. And we've talked about track changes in Microsoft Word. It's the same concept with these tools. That's what these tools do, especially for developers or testers, right? For a developer, if you are writing your code and you make changes to your code, use these tools to track the different changes to your code or the different versions to your code. So some BAs use it, especially BAs that write test cases. If you're a BA who writing test cases, you want to use these tools to manage the different versions of your test cases. You don't need to worry too much about them. Just know something that would be on your resume, and they could ask you what tool do you use. What tool did your project use for version control? You just say GitHub or Subversion. These are the common ones. GitHub, Subversions. These are all common configuration management tools. Now, test tools. In a business analyst resume, you would see they're usually tools for testing, right? But you're not meant to be an expert at these tools. As a business analyst, you are just meant to know what the tools are used for. I've showed you about Selenium. I've showed you how to do UI testing with Selenium. So at least you know that. Now, 508 compliance testing. This is the tool they use for it. JAWS and Wave. These are very common tools used for 508 compliance testing. Database testing, they use a tool called dbFit. Integration testing, a very common tool is Fitness. Developer tools, same thing with test tools. You're not meant to know how to use these tools, but you're meant to know what they are used for. Developers, what they very common developer tool is for writing code is Eclipse. Eclipse, they use it to write Java. They can use it to write Python and so on and so forth. Microsoft Visual Studio. There are programmers called .NET developers or C#, C++, all these Microsoft languages. They use this Visual Studio to write them. So these two tools are known as code editors. They're very popular, used by developers. Again, as a BA, yours is just to know, okay, Eclipse is used for code editing. It's used by developers. That's where your own ends. ETL. ETL is what developers do when they are transferring data from one place to another. I'll talk about ETL more when we discuss data analysis and data modeling. But ETL is just a developer function or process. So ETL, these are the common tools: Informatica, Microsoft, SSIS. Okay, so those are common ETL tools. Informatica is the most common. Data modeling. There are data modelers, developers that do this data modeling. These are tools that they use. C. Irwin, MySQL, Microsoft Visio, they all use these tools for data modeling. Database administrators, who are also considered like developers. Oracle, they use SQL. If you notice, Oracle and SQL is listed under BA tools. It's the same tool, but the BAs use it for query only. Now, developers can do more than query. They do all these things. They can create a database, they can create tables, they can truncate the data, they can do security and so on and so forth. These are the things that developers do using these tools. Then reporting tools, right? Developers use these tools to create reports. Oracle Business Intelligence. BI Publisher, Business Object, Cognos, these are all examples of reporting tools. Now, there's a popular one now called MicroStrategy that they use. I'll add that later on. But the objective of showing you this is if you go for an interview and they mention a tool that you don't know, right? They can say, oh, let's say they say, oh, are you familiar with Enterprise Architect? Right? You've never seen that tool before. What you just say is, you're not familiar with that tool, but you might have used a tool that does the same thing. Can they clarify what that tool does? Right? So they can come and say, oh, well, Enterprise Architect is used for data modeling, right? Oh, you say, well, you're familiar with Microsoft Visio. Visio, you can create data models with Visio, and so on, right? So that's the purpose of creating this, is just to show you the family, the groupings of these tools, what they are used for, and so that during an interview you're not like thrown off. Okay, so to round up today, let's talk about Scrum certification, resume creation, tool checklist. No, I think that's it. So that's it. So let's reserve the remaining minutes for question and answer. Did you guys have any questions for me?
Done.
Go ahead.
Yeah, in that chicken calendar, right? The organization must have set up the calendar for everybody on the Outlook before you can do that, or as an individual, I can just say, okay, let me go and search for people's calendar and then go and type, let's say CJ, and I don't have CJ set up anywhere, and his calendar will appear on my app, or how does it work?
Yeah, so everyone who works for the organization, you can see the person's calendar. Everyone who works for that organization. So it's not they don't need to set you up separate. Each person is set up individually. It's based on who works for the organization. Like everybody in the same domain. So let's say you go and work for Department of Defense, right? If you get hired in Department of Defense, they'll assign you a Department of Defense email. So once they've assigned you a Department of Defense email, you would have access to their Outlook. Once you have access to the Outlook, then you can see the calendar of everybody in the Department of Defense. That's how it works. It's automatic. Once you're in the domain or you're on the server, then you can see everybody else on the server.
Okay.
All right. So but good question. So they just to address something that happened the last time we met. So there are exactly 10 slots who can join the meeting, right? So it's 10 slots who can speak. But if you can't join the meeting, right, you can join the live stream. So this tool has a live stream. So with the live stream, you can join, you can chat, you can hear everyone, but you can't speak. That's the only thing. So if you're the last person to join, the only thing is, unfortunately, you won't be able to speak, but you can actually like join and participate. You can do Kahoots, whatever it is. The only thing to note is that there's a slight like 2-second delay, but it's still almost as good as joining the Hangouts.
What tool is that?
You mean what tool is?
Can you join if you don't join the class on time?
Oh, like when the class is full, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's YouTube Live. It's YouTube live stream. I'll send you the link. So for instance, Elizabeth wasn't able to join because she was the 11th person. So I just sent her the link to join the live stream. So if you message me and say, oh, I couldn't join, that means there are 10 people in. So I'll just send you the YouTube live stream. Then you just join via YouTube. But you can send me messages. But you can't like speak.
All right.
So any other questions about what we discussed? Okay, and one more thing. So we can try the PowerPoint karaoke. Whenever we do another review, so that you can start preparing yourself for those types of questions. I'm going to share a mock interview that I did with someone who currently works for PayPal today. So it's a long interview. You can forward it, rewind it, or whatever it is. You don't need to like try and listen to the whole thing on the spot. But it's something that would sort of try and start preparing your mind for whatever interview you're going to attend. Even if it's not a BA interview, I just encourage you, just observe the way the person addressed the questions. It's something that a lot of people have found helpful. So I'll share that with you today or tomorrow. And what else? Any other questions that I can answer before we round up for today? Simon.
Yeah, Daniel.
Go ahead.
This